Many years ago, when I was still a young pup in the business world, the sales and marketing community, I had a friend who was actually the father of a friend of mine, who was a very successful businessman, became a real strong mentor to me, taught me a lot about business. And I remember one time he and I were actually getting ready to just go golfing. And he called me and he said, okay, so we've got like a 10 o'clock tee time tomorrow. I will pick you up at 9:30 so that we can go have breakfast, hit some balls, and get ready to play. He said, now I'm going to be there. He said at 9:30. He said, and as you probably already know, I am never late. So make sure that you're not late. Right? And in reality, he did not show up at 9:30. He showed up at 9:20 out front. And I learned, and it's like the military definition of being on time is that if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. And I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, he said, that's a real big important, it's really important to me that I am always a little bit early for any appointment, regardless of whether it's for just something with friends or whether it's a business appointment or whatever. He said, because people are important, their time is important, I want to respect their time, and showing up late is showing disrespect for their time. Now, that's not the lesson for today. The lesson for today is that, see, I learned that from him. And one of the things he passed on to me even years later, so many different things that he passed on to me, was that when you do learn something in the business world that others can benefit from, then you owe it to them to share it with them. It's like another thing that I learned, and I don't think it was from him, it might have been, but another thing that I learned was that when you are holding a meeting, for example, or if you're giving a speech somewhere, is never start late. Never start late. You ever notice how, like, when sometimes you go to meetings or you go to you have speeches, and you'll be sitting in the audience or something, or you're sitting in the meeting room and you're there on time, and they say, oh well, we'll just wait a few more minutes for the people that are not here yet, to give them time to get here. Well, you know what? That is actually rewarding people for being late. So you're not saying to them, hey, you got to be here on time, otherwise there's a problem. In fact, the lesson that I learned about meetings was that when you start if you say you're going to start a meeting at 10 o'clock, then lock the door at 10 o'clock so that nobody can come in late, and teach them that they got to be there on time. And one thing that I have practiced for many, many years is that when I'm giving a speech, I start on time. When I'm giving a webinar, I start on time, because I am not there to reward the people who come in late. Now, both of these examples are things that I learned and that I have shared over the years. There are many other things that I've learned over the years too. And the point of today is that this is like content marketing, is sharing these great business practices. These are not just tips; they are really good business practices to have. And I know that you have information, you have things that you have learned over your years of being in business. And it doesn't matter whether you've been in business for 1 year or you've been in business for like me for a gazillion years, right? That you still have things that you have learned. And it really is important for us to share that stuff. So when you think about content marketing, for example, is that content marketing is not about you. All right. Content marketing is not where you just go out and you just start, spewing out information about your products that you consider to be important for people to know. No, people are not interested in learning about your stuff until they are ready to listen. Up until then, think in terms of content marketing as being beneficial to people, as being useful and interesting content that you can share with them, to where a couple of things are happening. Number one is that they grow to want to hear from you. Number two is that they learn to sort of like you and know you and trust you through these helpful tips and ideas and like I say, best practices like I shared here today. And then occasionally you mix in some information about about your own products. All right. But content marketing is a relationship tool. And yes, you want to connect the dots with content marketing, and ultimately creating a new customer, making a sale, keeping them, forever, things like that. And yes, you definitely want to do that. But if all you do is decide that content marketing is just talking about you and about your products and how great you are, well, then that's not really what content marketing is about. And I think if you think in terms of if you know it, you should teach it. Sit down, make a list of the top things that you have learned over the years in business, and then also make a list of, say, frequently asked questions people have about your company. And then use those as the guidance for the type of content marketing, the type of content that you want to put together and share with people. So if you know it, you should teach it. And I know you've learned a lot, and feel free to share some stuff in the comments below that you have learned as well, that go right up there with mine about being on time and about starting on time as well. This is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad and marketing gunslinger. Thanks again for joining me this week. I'll be back again next week with another Uncopyable business video. And until then, always remember, be uncopyable. See ya.